Go for it.
Ready? All right. You guys have heard a couple of different ways of fishing. I'm going to talk to you about planer board fishing. People think that you can't use planer boards on rivers. They think that you can only use them on lake, and that's really not true. We have become a group of fishermen as catfishermen that are searching for new ways to put fish in the boat. A few years ago, like John was talking about, nobody ever heard of bumping the rivers. That is our go-to way to tournament fish if we're on current rivers. It's the best way to present bait to multiple fish. You cover more ground, you present your bait to more fish than any other way. And that's what we're doing with planer boards. On lakes, you don't have current, so you're using your trolling motor to create current. So you can present your bait in front of more fish all the time. Now, everybody's got different ones. These guys, they've got some here. These are all short tackle boards, and this is why I like them. They got a tattletale on them. Line in here from your rod, and you go back and put a little slack in it, and you hook the line back in here. And when a fish hits it, especially if they're small fish, they sit there and do like that. When a big fish hits it, they take it and it goes under the water, so it doesn't make any difference. It's gone. And on the rivers, we use those big boards. Those things will jump out to the side of your boat, and we'll set anchor and use those big boards. And you just cover a bigger spread. For years, we've done the same thing, drifting, dragging, whatever you want to call it, on lakes and stuff, but you was limited to the length of rods you use. So guys was using 10 and 12-foot rods out the side of their boat, and they cover 28 to 30-foot paths. Well, with these, you can cover 60, 80, 100 feet, however far you're comfortable with. Now, for us, we do these a lot on Lake Ozark, Truman. Most of the time, there's not current down there, but sometimes there's a little bit of current. But we hook them up. We'll put two out to each side. Normally, one about 60 or 70 foot, and then one in half distance, and we run two right directly behind the boat. They're dragging. And what we do, and these guys have got some the weights that we was talking about earlier, the dragging weights. We make ours. And depending on the situation, they're from 1 or 2 ounces to 8 ounces. And they're from this long to this long. And the reason for that is if we run up on a treetop or a stump or a pile of rocks, I want to hit that because there's going to be fish on it. And I want them to go over that. And we also run a float on the back of it to float the bait up. Normally, your bait, your hook, not what gets hung up. Most of the time, it's sinkers. They'll get hung in the trees. They'll get hung in the rocks. They'll get hung in a crack in there between limbs, anything. And those weights prevent that from happening. They go over stuff. I can't think the last time we actually lost a rig using those type of weights. You didn't take your fly with you, did you? You didn't take your fly.
He's still here.
But what you're doing is you're presenting the bait in front of more fish so that you get a better opportunity to harvest those fish. Now, it doesn't matter if you're fishing in a tournament, which is mainly what we do, but if you're out fun fishing and you want to put a bunch of fish in the boat to take home and eat, this is a great way to do it. You go up in a cove in shallow water where there's a bunch of small blues or small channel cat, you can just pick them off one right after the other. And depth finders, for me, is extremely important. If I don't find fish, I'm not fishing that area. That don't mean there's not fish there, but it's usually not the ones I'm looking for because we mainly tournament fish. And I'm looking for ledges, drop-offs. If I find a tree that's submerged or a rock pile, I'm dragging baits over. How deep it is, it doesn't matter how shallow it is, because if there's structure in there, even if that depth finder doesn't pick it up, there'll be fish on it. If I find a place where the wind is blowed up on a shallow flat and there's a bunch of bait fish in there, if I can see them shed hitting the water, just off of that bait, there's going to be fish there, because if the bait fish are there, the big fish are going to be there. And we're just trying to pay, and we'll drag. We'll put these boards out and we'll go from here to no telling how far. And the way I do these is we'll drop on each side of the motor and let line out to where they drag. I'll cast a line out 50, 60 feet because it's going to come back in. Then I'll hook this board on and I'll set it in the water and it'll run out there whatever distance I'm comfortable with, whether it be 50 or 100 feet. And he'll be out here to the side. Then I'll cast another out back here and hook a board up it and it'll run over. So you got two of them on each side doing the same thing and you're covering big areas of water. Because those fish, that a lot of times they'll sit there in different spots, but a lot of times they're moving, and you just go back and forth, up and down. That seems one thing to look for, and I don't know if John Kluger mentioned it or not. When you're looking for current seams, if you find a trail of bubbles in the water, you're really close to that seam, because that's where the two water edges meet, and it creates that turbulence and makes bubbles. If you're in a foam line, you're probably in a good spot. And if you can set these boards out and run your trolling motor, of course, we got remote trolling motors, and I'll put the boat right on the seam. So I got two that's right on it and two off to the side, on each side. Coming in and out of there, they got to find you. It's just that simple. But this is a very productive way to catch fish on the rivers. You can do it if you're using the trolling motor, but mainly when we're doing planer boards on the river, we're anchor fishing, and we'll sit there and leave them set out to the side of the boat and then let line out and let them move back, because the current will take your bait and your sinker. I don't care how much weight you're using, that current's going to take it out, because 4 and 5 mile an hour current, a lot of times we're in 7 mile an hour current. And I talk to people all the time and they say, oh man, I never seen 7 mile an hour current. Well, we got it. We've had it all spring. We was down at Mississippi River Monsters in Memphis last year. We was in 7.5 mile an hour current. And we bumped the whole time. And we was bumping 450 feet behind the boat, because that's the only way you can keep it down without having to run such heavy weights. And we didn't run planer boards down off the sides, but we run straight out the back with a deal that kept it straight behind the boat. So if we made a turn around, and that's what you have to do. You gotta put that bait in front of those fish. And these boards, even these small boards, we have run baits, skipjack heads, and bodies as big as the board. And guys, well, why do you do that? Because we're looking for big fish. If we're looking for small fish, we're going to be using smaller pieces of bait. And a big fish will take a small piece of bait, but generally a small fish won't attack a great big piece. If he does, he's just pecking on it. You don't want him to eat. But that's how we do it. Planer boards have been a great success for us. It is new technology to the catfishing industry. It's not new technology to fishing, because guys on the Great Lakes, they've been catching walleye and trout and stuff like that for years off of these. And this is something that's come into play for lake fishing in no current situations, because you can just get to more fish with it. You present the bait out there, the fish finds you, you catch more fish, and that's what we all want to do. We want to catch more fish.
What do you mean by a thing that keeps it straight behind the boat?
It's a little funnel-shaped float. They're about that long and about that big around, and it doesn't matter when you're turning with these. A lot of times, if we're going down, say the ledge on Lake Ozark, and we get to where the water's coming up and it's not as deep as we want to be, we'll turn around, we'll reel them all up and then reset them, and either go back the other way or go to the other end and start back up. Because you make the turn, they get tangled up. Right. It's not like the Great Lakes where you can make a slow
sweepers, turn. Yeah.
Right. You don't have that option down there. So it's easier to reel them up and not get tangled up. With these, they stay directly behind the boat. And then I usually run them on 50 feet behind the boat, and they'll stay right there no matter what you're doing turning. But the side boards won't do that.
And where's it go on your line?
I cast them out.
mean, does it go, above your sinker, below your sinker?
Oh, above. Oh,
line?
absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, like I say, I cast the line out, sinker, hook, bait, and when it hits the bottom, that's when I hook the boards on. And then I let them out as far out as I want them to be. Line counters are very, very important. We don't use them 100% of the time, but if you're catching, if you're casting out to the side, and the idea behind that is to get the sound of the boat, any noise, anything away from there. Lake fishing, it's not like river fishing, because rivers, they have current and noise and turbulence and all kinds of crap going on all the time. Lake fishing, other than boats, is kind of quiet. So you want to keep the bait away from the boat and as far behind as you can. If the shadow of the boat, because there's a lot more clear water in the lake, that takes all that factor away from it. And you just get them as far away from you as you can, and they'll just pop them off, just one right after the other. But yeah, that's how I want the bait far enough behind the board that if you hit a deep hole, that it still go down to the bottom. So 100, 150 feet is not uncommon for me. And the board doesn't matter; it's going to stay where it's at.
Right.
But when that bait comes down, it'll hit that hole and it'll go right on down the bottom, sweep through it. It comes up the other side, doesn't do it. But I'm telling you, I'm looking for the roughest stuff there is, whether it be trees or rocks, multiple trees, brush piles, any kind of change in the bottom features of the thing, whether it's waves, revetments, anything like that. Because those fish, they are very structure and current oriented. But, if you don't, I promise you, we planned to come to Saylorville, and I had some back stuff happen yesterday, and we didn't bring the boat. But if I would have been at that, we'd have had boards out all night, and we'd have been up and down that lake. Because I understand there's not any structure at all in there. Is that right? Saylorville didn't have any structure?
No,
yeah, that's what I heard. Yeah.
You'll find a couple rises in the middle of the lake where it comes up from 22 foot up to 12 feet.
Yep.
So there's one with a fence line running across the top of it. Used to be a fence line.
Right.
Very seldom lose a rig.
Very seldom.
not anymore, but back in the early 80s, you could lose one.
Yeah, and see, if I don't know how long the lake is, but however long it is, I would have took a starting point, and I'd have put them boards out, and I'd have went all the way to the end. I'd turn around, I'd come right back and moved over a little bit.
It's 4 miles long, usable.
I'd have been going back and forth in different spots all night. All night. And if I didn't get them going this way, I'd go sideways and go back and forth until I started picking them off. Yeah. Well, that's what that was our plan. We had everything ready to go. Just, sometimes things don't work out as you can. But, we was really counting on it. But we'd have been boarding all night, and if the fish was there, we had a shot at it. If it wasn't, we still don't have it.
What do one of them boards cost?
They vary. It depends on where you get them. Anywhere from $35 or $40, depending on brand size, for a pair, to $60 or $80 a pair. The only thing that I can offer you about boards is buy a quality product. There's a lot of cheap ones that's imported. They're not made of the quality that these or the ones these guys have here. They're good too. Buy them once and you never have to go. My buddy Doc Lang has some boards he's had for 25 years. And you can step on them. You can do all kinds of stuff with the good ones. But the cheap ones, you break them and you're out. You got to go get another one, and just do it once. And make sure they've got strong clips. It's very important. And if you're having, now these have a notch inside. I don't know if you can see them or not. There's a notch in there that keeps the line from pulling out. If you have problems pulling out with a board, put you a loop in there. Put 2 wraps on them before you do. But me, I want this to turn loose here. I don't want it to hold. When a fish hits, I want it to jerk that out of this clip, and I want it to hold on this one, because it turns the board around backward and just rolls in. And Cindy's sitting in a boat, she just pinches that, the line comes off, we get the fish. You don't have to fool to fight the board. If this holds, you're fighting the fish, you're fighting the board, you're fighting the current if you're on the river, whatever it is, and it just adds to the, you get a 5-pound fish, you think it's 90. By the time you fight all the elements, and there's no reason for it. So I just put my line right on the outside edge of that, because with no current situations, very seldom do they ever pull out. If you get a fish that short strikes you and he hits it, he may bust it out of there, but that's okay. You just reel it up, you throw it back out. But this one here, you want it behind that pin. And like I say, you squeeze it. We're kind of to see, but it's about halfway. If it's behind there, then it just turns that board around backwards. It is reel it in. It's no problem at all. You just squeeze it, take the board off, and you're not got nothing with the fish. Small fish, it ain't a big deal, but you get a 30 or 40 pound blue on or a flathead, and you can catch flatheads on board. When you're fighting that, you don't have any extra distractions.
Miserable flatheads because they stay on.
They stay
on the bottom.
They stay down, and they keep that board underneath the water. You're fighting. That's right. Yeah, they'll make it tough, and we don't catch a lot of flatheads simply because we target them because we do so much tournament fishing, and where we fish, it's going to take blues to win. You know, one flathead might get you big fish, but it's not going to win you total win. They're just not as popular. They go out east and they catch flatheads. They don't hardly catch blues, and that'd be good. I'd like to do that sometime. Any questions?
For braid or mono when you're running boards?
I don't run mono for anything but leaders. Now you can run it. Doc uses mono all the time. He loves it. I run braid for the simple fact that I feel everything. If I'm pulling a board and I hit a rock, I can see that rod tip move. If I'm bumping, I can tell you at 200 feet behind the boat, if I'm in mud, if I'm in little rocks, if I'm in big rocks, if I hit a stump, I know that I've hit something. With mono, you can't always do that. But then I'm running a graphite, high modulus bumping rod. And I want to know where that line is at, what it's hitting. But I run braid all the time. For a long time, I wouldn't let Cindy do it because I was worried about her getting cut. But I don't worry about her no more. She knows that she's not supposed to have her hand in that spot. And if you don't get in trouble, you won't get cut. Now, I will mention that to everybody. If you're not familiar with braided line, it will hurt you. It will cut you to the bone before you can get away from it. Be very careful with it, but it is the most sensitive way to fish anything. If a lot of people don't like it, a lot of people love it. I'm one that does. But like I say, it adds to the sensitivity level, whether you're dragging baits or bumping or whether you're anchor fishing, because you will see anything that touches any part of your rig. It's just that sensitive. And that's like sensitive rods. The ones that got big bends in them and stuff, you know, a fish swims by, it look like you're getting a bite, and I don't do that. You know, when it hits, I want to know that it's actually a fish. Anything else?
What type of hooks do you prefer? Circles or?
I use circle hooks on planer boards, and when a 5 pound blue will take this board completely under the water. And when the board pops back up, he's already hooked. You're just reeling him in. They kind of like bobber fishing. You know, if you ever used a bobber or a cork or anything, the only difference is it'll stay away from you. It'll get over there where you want it, and it'll stay put. And we try to drag them about anywhere from 0.5 mile an hour to 1 mile an hour, depending on the situation. Sometimes if we're not getting hit at 0.5, we'll speed up. Guys say, "Oh, you got to slow down." Well, that's not necessarily true. Sometimes you have to speed up. Sometimes they want the presentation faster, and I don't know why, because there are no current situations. But sometimes they won't bite at 0.5. Sometimes they want it at 1.2. Sometimes they want it at 0.3. And if we can't get it slow enough, we put a drift sock out to the back, turn the trolling motors down as it'll go, low as it'll go, and we pull that drift sock and slow it down. Other times we pull the drift stock up and speed it up, whatever it takes to get them fish to bite. It's like bait. Some days they want heads. Some days they want fillets off the side. Some days they want body sections. Some days they want shads. Some days they want skipjack. You just have to work at it to find what they want and make it happen. But they'll tell you. They'll tell you.
Have you ever tried artificial baits?
No, not for fish. I know guys that do that.
There's fish not centerville on crankbaits with your boys.
Right? Yeah, I know that happens. The reason why I don't do it is because it's not a consistency thing. Being a tournament guy, we got to put them in a boat. And maybe you'll catch one a day doing that, or I'll catch 15 dragging a piece of cut bait. And consistency is everything. If you don't produce, you're not going to be up on the stage collecting a check, and that's why you do it. But, circle hooks works for us. I do use Big River Gamakatsus for bumping. That is when you're bumping, them fish are aggressive. They're trying to take that rod out of your hand, and you're going to jerk on it to keep it from happening. I forget you got to reel down on it when they're trying to take it, and I'm laying it on them. And that Big River Gamakatsu, it'll lay it on. It'll get it. And the hookup ratio is absolutely fabulous. So, if you're in big water, you got to use big hooks. You got to use strong hooks. Last thing you want's a tip of it bent over, anything like that. It's good quality stuff. Heavy line, big leaders. And you're going to lose some stuff. If you use planer boards, if you bump, if you fish the rivers, you're going to lose tackle. Be prepared for it. Have plenty of spares. Lots of lead, lots of hooks. But the days of anchor fishing is not gone. It's still a great, relaxing, fun way to fish. But for production, it's not like it used to be. In the wintertime, it's a different situation. But guys like Carl Morris, he drifts year round, even in the winter.
Same, I drift like the Ozarks all winter long.
Yep. But these boards have been a game changer for us. We put a lot more fish in the boat. You can get out on the main lake and find you a pot of fish. Like I say, normally I won't go after fish unless I find them on the depth finder. And if I find them, we're going to sit there and work them till one of them gives up, one or two. If they don't go, we'll go find someplace else. The codes for people starting out with boards that are uncomfortable with them, or not used to them, or don't know exactly how to do it until they figure it out, find you a cove that nobody's romping and snorting in big boats around, and just go back and forth up and down that cove. You get to one end of it, reel up, set them back, go back down the other way. You can probably pick up a fish or two, but you'll get an idea of where you're comfortable with off to the side. Me, like I say, 75 feet and half that distance, and I watch that thing. This is a big deal to me because I can see that moving. If it starts moving, it's dragging brush on the bottom, or if it's getting ready to get lit up. And that's what I want. I want to get lit up. I want that thing to go out of sight, and I know I got fish. And like I say, by the time this comes up, he's already hooked. You just reel it in. Just like bobber fishing, except you're not about the edge of the boat. Works out really well for us. If you guys got any questions at any time, you can get a hold of me. I'll tell you anything you want to know. We don't give out spots, but I'll tell you anything. Johnny Coleman's a guy, he's got the GPS coordinates. You can go to call him up, and he'll tell you where he caught this certain fish. But just anytime you guys got any questions or anything I can help you with, feel free to give me a buzz. We're glad to do it. We want everybody to catch more fish. More fish you catch, the more fun you're going to have. You tell somebody else, take your kid or your wife or something, and more people get involved in the sport, the better it's going to be down the road.
What depth finder do you use that?
On the Monster Cat, as a Lowrance HTS 12, on our personal boat, we have a 1198 Hummingbird, a 998 Hummingbird, and I've got a new 360 image you can put on. But I got to fix the wires because my new lad puppy chewed them too. Yeah, pretty proud of her. Yeah, that's it all works good. If you buy a Lowrance, I'm not familiar at all with the Garmin's, Lowrance, Hummingbirds. I have my preferences, because I've used the birds for so many years. But I will tell you that Lowrance has amazing imagery, and that touchscreen, that's the coolest thing since toilet paper. I mean, it really is. You can push that button, it'll go to that screen, and you'd think after cutting bait all day and picking up fish that you get all over that screen. It really doesn't. And we keep some stuff. We got a Bass Pro in the boat. It's a little bottle of screen cleaner, and you spray it on there, and one of those we call them cloths you get at Walmart. They don't scratch your screen, and you wipe that stuff right off. And maybe once a day is all you have to do. It's worth having that in there. And it's the same stuff you use on your computer, clean your screens on your computer. But it's just sold at Bass Pro. You know, and Willie, you guys ought to get some. I don't know what, there's all kinds of different brands. But, and it all works the same. You spray it on there, wipe it off, and any shad, scales, or guts, or whatever. I use it on my phone. I use it on my computer. It works really well. It keeps them screens clean. The price of electronics, you got to take care of it.
How much adjustment of the sensitivity do you have to do that?
I
set it up.
I set ours up every time we go someplace different. A lot of times, every time we go back to the same place, because the clarity of the water changes, and that affects what they'll pick up and what they won't. And I'm really big on side scan. I set my side scan in no further than what we're going to be pulling boards. So if I'm going to be pulling boards at 80 feet, that's where I set the side scan. There's no sense of going over because you're not fishing over there. You're fishing right there. And that's how we do it. Down scan, I like that really well, but you do have to be directly over the fish within the distance of width of the cone. Yeah. 2D sonar, 3D sonar, I really like that because I can get a better idea in my mind of what size fish I'm dealing with. You know, if I got a mark that's this long, I'm feeling that he's probably a 10 or 12 pound fish. But if he's that big, he's probably 25 or 30, and we're going to spend time getting him. Where the little bitty marks, the little arches, if there's a ton of them in there, we probably not going to mess
with
with
your color graph. You adjust it so you can see the plate of the head.
I do. And a lot of times we'll change the color palette during the day. Depending if it's real bright sunny when you start out and it gets cloudy later in the day, I'll change that. These old eyes don't see what they used to, so I need all the help I can get. And it's very important that they put that stuff on there because what is clear for me to see may not be clear for you to see. A lot of guys like the green stuff, like it when the fish light up red. But on cloudy days, the brown palette works really well for me. Really well. But each place you go, you got to mess with sensitivity and contrast and clarity. You want to get it the best you can so you can tell. And what's on the bottom of whatever water you're fishing, that's where the structure is going to be. And it's important that jumps up. And that's where the side scan comes in because that 2D sonar, it may show you a red spot on there. But when it comes up on that side imaging, it may be a treetop and it'll pick out the limbs. And in them limbs, a lot of times there'll be a white spot, and that's the fish. That's how we approach it, and it works for us. But if you guys get planer boards to try, and Willie, what brand you guys got? Trophy Ridge?
Yep.
Yeah. Good product. Give them a try, and let them go out there and give them an honest evaluation. Sometimes you don't go out and catch fish every time you go out, but if you'll give them an honest try, you'll catch more fish with boards in still water lakes and stuff where you're trolling down through there and you're pulling in boards. It will add to the number of fish you put in your boat.
Absolutely. If you're drifting, you're pulling boards.
Yep.
I mean, it's just
You sure do.
fact of the matter.
I'll probably never be without them again. And city doesn't like long rods. 10, 12 footers, you can't get them out of the rod holders and the fish gets on them. We run 10 footers off to the side. We would run 8 footers off the corner of the boat, and we run 7.5s usually off the back of the boat. For years we've done that.
Right.
And she got to where she wouldn't let me put a 10 footer on her side of the boat because she couldn't get it out of the rod holder. So when we started using boards, you could use a 6, 7, 8. Doesn't make any difference how long the fishing rod is, because the board's going to go out and do the work for you. And she can get those out of the boat. Doesn't matter if it's a 30 or 40 or 50. She can get it out of the rod holder and go on. Where those long rod fishing rods, she just couldn't get them out. And if you got a double on where you're fighting a fish and she can't get one out of the rod holder, then you got a problem. So there's a lot of advantages to them. Lots of advantages to them. But I will tell you, buy a quality product, you'll be a lot happier in the end. Anything else?
Can you touch on conservation real quick while you're up there, Lyle?
I can. It is extremely important that we protect our resources. It's very important to the future of our sport that we return some of these breeding size fish. A guy said, well, that's big fish. Well, not necessarily. We don't keep anything very big to eat. In fact, we don't keep very many fish at all. But that's our choice. I think it's fine that everybody goes out and they catch plenty of fish to eat and invite their friends over and they cook them babies up and have a good time. But those big breeders, when they're 30 and 40 years old and they're 50, 60, 80 pounds, them fish are still producing 400,000 to 800,000 eggs a year. Those eggs, out of all, how many ever it is, 1% of the eggs survive. 1%. And out of that 1% actually grow to be big enough to harvest. And it's a lot of variables. Other fish eat the eggs, they destroy, they eat the little fry, different things happen to them. But it's really important that we protect our resource for our kids and our grandkids. I would hate to see my grandkids, who are a little bitty, never be able to catch a 40 or 50 pound fish. I want to be able to catch something over 10 or 12 pounds. And you don't have to turn them. And I will say this too, a lot of people, they don't understand this, but if you get a fish, say you catch one and it's deep hooked and it's bleeding and it's not going to make it, don't throw that fish back. Take that fish and harvest it. I don't care what the guys say about returning every fish. Sometimes you can't do that. And you've got to use that fish. The smaller ones are a lot better eating, but if you injure one, you might as well enjoy it. That's what she's out there fishing for. But it's important that we take care of these. And 30 years from now, I probably ain't going to be fishing, but you're probably going to be. And you want to be able to catch them 50s and 60s. You're from Quincy?
Mm-hmm.
I love fishing over Cindy, and I got big fish over there 2 terms last couple of years.
Yeah, I think say it. I was fishing for freedom.
Yep, we was up there. We fish that every year. Great event. You guys, and it has nothing to do with planer boards or seminars. But if you get a chance to go to Quincy and fish the Fishing for Freedom tournament, you take out a military person, either active duty, retired. Take them out for a 4-hour fishing trip. It's the most rewarding thing you'll ever do. I promise you. They're so happy to get to go. Some of them, we took a major out, not this past year, but the year before, had never been in a boat, never been fishing. What we fished, 5th or something in catfish division. He caught a big drum. He thought it was a big catfish, but he fought it in. I said, well, that's trash fish. He said, not to me. You know, and they're just happy to be there. If you get a chance, look that up. It's called Fishing for Freedom Quincy. I promise you, you'll have a good time. It's a wonderful thing. Anything else? Listen, thank you guys for coming. These boys have worked really hard to make this event nice, and it's very, very cool that they're going to cook up some chicken and let us all come up here and do this. And we've had a blast. We spent some time with them last night and today, and I hope they do it again. And if they do, I hope they let us come back, because we really enjoyed it, and it's great to see all you guys show up. So thanks for coming.
Thanks.